When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Two-Footed Podcast here on EPL Index. Now, before we kick things off today, I just want to share something with everybody. This episode is brought to you by our partners at Skybet, and we've teamed up with Skybet because they truly understand what it means to be a fan. Skybet appreciates the length that people go through to support their team in all areas, whether you're a match-going fan or otherwise, and there's just no better fit for us right now than a partnership with the good folks at Skybet. So with that said, let's go. It's good, boys and girls. Two-Footed Podcast. Today is Friday. It is the 10th of May, and the sun is still shining, so fingers crossed it stays that way. We had European football last night. In the Europa Conference League, Olympiacos 2, Aston Villa 0. Aston Villa must just be sick of the sight of El Kaabi. Another 2 goals last night for him, which obviously followed on from the hat-trick he got at Villa Park. 6-2 on aggregate. Olympiacos go through. Villa had some decent chances in the game, but to be honest, they never really felt like they were fully just throwing caution to the wind. They lined up with a bit of a defensive setup. I mean, I know Konza has played a bunch of right back with Carlos and Torres at centre back, but it was more of a back three last night with Cash and Digne as wing backs. And if you're going to play Konza in that role with 2 centre backs, kind of feel like you've got to play someone more attack minded, or not even more attack minded, just someone with a more credible threat in the final third than Matty Cash. Like Matty Cash, when he was at Forest, was an up and down winger. But he's lost a lot of what I think drew Villa to him in the first place since he went there. He's become better defensively for sure, but he just doesn't offer enough going forward. They were playing Bailey and Diaby quite narrow, and that was playing into the hands of Olympiacos, who, to be honest, I thought Retsos and Carmo had a really good game at centre-back. I thought Santiago Heze in midfield was excellent. They allowed Villa to play in the areas that they were happy for them to play in. And yeah, Villa had more quality and thus created some opportunities. But you never really felt like they were going to score or going to go on and overturn the deficit from the first leg. I thought Olympiacos played it brilliantly, and huge credit to them. Mendelebar, I thought, coached a great 2-legged tie, and that's a really deserving spot in a European final for Olympiacos. It's quite funny to look at that squad. You've got Retsos at right side centre back. He went to Leverkusen as a young player, very, very highly regarded, could never stay fit. Went on loan to Sheffield United. The last time they were in the Premier League, couldn't really stay fit. He's ended up bouncing around a bit. He's landed there. Carmo was exceptional at Braga. Looked like he was set for a big move. Destroyed his ankle. Came back. Didn't quite have the same mobility or sharpness of turn. Went to Porto for big money. Was doing well there, to be fair. Seemed to fall out with Conceição. Sent out on loan here. I believe it's a loan with an option to buy. And if it is, Olympiacos would do well to take up that option because I think in a year they'll be able to sell him for a big fee. In midfield, you've got Heze, highly regarded, came out of Argentina. They nabbed him and he's done really well. Vicente Iborra is playing in midfield for them. He's now 36. Obviously, he's knocked around for a long time. Was at Levante for years, was at Sevilla. Spent a year or maybe a year and a half with Leicester, but didn't settle there. Went to Villarreal and was important for them. Won the Europa League with them, having won it 3 times with Sevilla, and now leading Olympiacos to their first European final. I think it's their first ever. I'm almost certain it's their first European final ever. You've got Daniel Podence playing left wing, obviously in on loan from Wolves. Andre Horta is on the bench. He's another talented player. He's there on loan from Braga. It's quite surprised Braga let him go on loan because he'd done really well for them, but they made that decision. You look down the bench, João Carvalho, he was Nottingham Forest's record signing when they signed him from Benfica for like 14 million when they're in the championship. We're going back 6 years now. Didn't settle, didn't work out. Got loaned to Almeria. Then he got shifted on to Olympiacos, obviously because they're owned by the same person. And to his credit, he seems to have turned things around. Now, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he spent last year on loan, but this year he seems to have, gotten a place in the squad at least, and is in amongst the mix. And Stefan Jovetic on the bench last night didn't play. He's in his first year with Olympiacos, and 7 goals in 32 games in all competitions. He was sensational when he was at Partizan. Went to Fiorentina. It took him a few years to find his feet. Had a couple of horrible knee injuries. Went to City. Obviously, it never really worked out at City. Had a loan at Inter Milan. Went to Inter permanently because the loan went well. Then things didn't go well. He got loaned to Sevilla. Sold to Monaco. More injury-plagued seasons at Monaco. Just couldn't stay healthy. And landed at Hertha Berlin the past 2 years. They obviously got relegated. He was part of that. But again, you're looking at injury-plagued seasons. In his career, so Fiorentina league games, 29, 29, 0, 27, 31. So obviously one dreadful season there he doesn't play at all. But 4 or 5 he plays 29 or more. 2 years at City, 13 league games, 17 league games. Inter, 26 games. But since Inter, which is 15-16, that's the loan season. The next season he plays 26. Then it's 15, 8, 9, 29, 18, 17, and 20 this year. He's always had issues with injuries. His knee, I can't remember who. We were linked, Liverpool were linked with him for a couple of years when he was at Fiorentina before the knee injury. And I remember he had that knee injury and then he re-injured it. And I remember there was somebody who was quite prevalent on Twitter at the time, had like good insight into injuries and stuff. And they were saying it'll nearly be a surprise if he plays again because of the severity of the injuries that he's had. To his credit, he's come back and he's carved out a long career for himself. And I love to see him still going. So he'll have some conflict in that final. It is Olympiacos versus Fiorentina. That game is the 29th of May. It will be played in Athens at the new home of AEK Athens. It's a lovely looking stadium, 32,500 capacity. Olympiacos are going to be, I would imagine, 90% of the crowd in that one. but should be an absolute belter. Should be a well-balanced game, two evenly matched teams. Into the Europa League then. Marseille came away from their home leg with a 1-1 draw. They were a little bit disappointed after because they had some opportunities, but they seemed in the build-up to this game quietly confident that they could sneak away with a win. But Atalanta didn't let them breathe. Ademola Lookman on 30, Ruggieri on 52 with a lovely right-footed goal, having cut inside off the left flank. And Al-Bilal Toure, who's barely had a look in this season, 94th minute, latches on to a loose pass, knocks it past the defender, runs round him, closes in and just bends it into the bottom corner. It was a very Rafael Leao type of goal, a Thierry Henry type of goal. Really, really good. There's a lot of talent in that Atalanta team. They've been very, very average this season overall, but they found form at the right time. Ederson, I thought, was brilliant last night. Scamacca's causing lots of problems for defenders. De Ketelaere has found form. Lookman is playing well. Ruggieri is excellent. The defence is holding up well. They have Scalvini back fit again, which is huge for them. So I'd imagine he will start the final. And you throw El Bilal Toure into that attacking mix, and all of a sudden you've got four good options for three spots. Carnesecchi there on the bench. He's, I think, a big, big talent in between the sticks. So they've got two really good goalkeepers. I think they could, if they could keep this team together. Now, I know Koopmeiners wants to leave, but if they could sell him, keep everybody else and reinvest that money well and maybe spend a little bit as well this summer, they could be in a really strong position next year. You go Scalvini right side, Carnesecchi in goal, Scalvini right at centre-back, Hein in the middle is pretty good. Look for an upgrade at the left side centre-back role. Look for an upgrade at right wing-back and replace Koopmeiners. That's a really good team. Really, really good team. Ruggieri's very, very good. Ederson's excellent. De Ketelaere is promising. Scamacca is very good. Lookman's playing well. Bilal Toure should kick on next season. You'd have Musa on the bench. You'd have Hateboer on the bench. You'd have Darun on the bench. Jim City on the bench. You'd just have a really strong squad. Mitchell Backer's there as well. I'm not a big fan, but he's a decent player. So they're into their first ever European final. And for a time, it looked like we were going to get an all-Italian final because Roma went 2-0 up away to Leverkusen last night. Obviously, Leverkusen won the first leg 2-0 in Rome. But Roma went 2-0 up, and there looked like there was only going to be one winner. Because even though Leverkusen were creating a lot of chances, Sviller in goal was having the game of his life. He was absolutely outstanding. Paredes had scored on 43 from a penalty after Jonathan Tah just decided that wrestling with Serdar Azmoun was what he was going to do, pulled him down on a set piece, penalty given, ref didn't even hesitate. On 66, there's another penalty, cross is played in, hand goes up, almost to protect the face, bizarre penalty given. And it looked like I will call it what it was arrogance from Xabi Alonso with the attack that he picked. He left out Florian Wirtz and he left out Victor Boniface. Now Boniface has been carrying some injuries for the last few months, so maybe that was the logic there. But no reason not to play Florian Wirtz. No reason not to start Patrick Schick. Instead, he starts Amin Adli up front. Adli and Adam Hosek missed a number of chances. Xhaka missed a chance. Palacios had a good chance. The keeper was saving everything that was coming near him. Some of them were genuinely outstanding saves. On 82 minutes, there's a ball played into the box on a set piece. Leverkusen player and Roma player jumped together. Both of them committed for the ball. There's no foul here. But the Leverkusen player gets a better jump, and the Roma player kind of jumps into him and bounces off him a little bit. And as Villar comes to claim the ball, he makes contact with his own man, can't catch it, and it goes through his hands. It hits Gianluca Mancini, who stood behind him. He knows absolutely nothing about it, and it bounces into the back of the net. So Leverkusen are back in front. But it looks like while they may go through, they may lose their unbeaten run. 97 minutes. Again, 97 minutes. They build very, very well down the right-hand side, to be fair. Like playing with real calm. It was almost like they weren't all that worried if they lost, but they were going to keep playing their football. Ball played into Stanic's feet, and he just drifts into the box, beats a man who horsed himself on the ground for not sure what reason, and he puts it in the far corner with his left foot. Unbelievable. This season, 94th minute versus Bayern, 94th minute versus Quarabeg, 94th minute versus Augsburg, 91st versus Leipzig, 91st versus Stuttgart, 92nd and 97th versus Quarabeg, 91st versus Hoffenheim, 97th versus Dortmund, 97th versus Stuttgart, and 97th versus Roma. Like, you have to give them credit. Is it sustainable? It has been for the season, so that's all that matters. And now Leverkusen sit on a 49-match unbeaten run with 4 games left. They play Bochum next in the league. That's, you'd imagine, a comfortable win. Bochum currently sit 14th. Then they play Augsburg at home. Augsburg are 9th. Should be a comfortable win. Then Atalanta in the Europa League final. That is the 22nd of May at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. And then their final game is the German Cup final. It's 3 days after the Atalanta game, the 25th of May. They play Kaiserslautern at the Olympiastadion in Berlin. And Kaiserslautern, if you're not aware, are in the second division of German football. And to be clear, not a good second division team. They're 14th in the second division. They're 14th. They're 28 points off the team at the top of the league through 32 games. But somehow they've found their way into the cup final. They've won the league. The cup is a near guarantee. That Europa League final is going to be a very good game, and it's a very, very interesting battle. 2 managers that like to play football the right way. One of them maybe the best young manager in world football, certainly in the top 2. The other, a guy that took his time to find his feet, but has transformed Atalanta into a club I think that everybody admires. Not just him, but like he's bought into the ethos there. He's influenced a lot of things. The football has been really fun. They've had some very, very good teams there. And they deserve some success for this sort of period that they've had with Gasperini. This would be the crowning achievement, really. Like, they haven't won anything under Gasperini. They've finished 3rd in the league 3 times. And you know a club is struggling for honours when on their honours list, that's the top thing listed. They've also been runners-up twice in the Coppa Italia under Gasperini. So, you know, from both sides of it, they've just fallen short a little bit. Now, they're also this season in the Coppa Italia final. they will play Juventus on the 15th of May. So there is an opportunity for them to claim a double. And they have that week gap between games, which should help them. Because realistically, if they beat Roma on Saturday coming, is it Saturday coming? No, sorry, it's this Sunday. If they beat Roma, they're going to have that fifth spot pretty close to wrapped up. It's based on head-to-head as far as I can remember. They drew the first game. If they win this one, they'd only need to win one of their last two to be guaranteed of finishing ahead of Roma. And they played Torino on the final day at home. They've got Lecce away in the interim. That's between the two cup finals. But they could rest everybody for that and probably still get a result. It could turn out to be a magnificent season for them. I mean, fifth in the league is not great, obviously. But at the same time, they get fifth. And actually, they have 4 games left because they have to replay Fiorentina. So that'll need to be stuck in at some point. That's going to have to be after everybody else has finished playing. Now, it's not going to be a game. Well, it might be a game that matters, but it's going to have to be after all the other games. It's going to have to be after the last league game because there's no other gap for it. So the whole season will be over and they'll have a game left to play. Strange. But yeah, if they get fifth, and there's still a chance they could get fourth, it's not fantastic, but it's Champions League football for next year through the league, and they could win a cup double going up against a team that could win an undefeated treble, which, is a fairly special achievement. Back after the break. Right, welcome back. So we have EFL football tonight, and as you will have heard at the beginning of this podcast, today's episode is brought to you by Sky Bet, and we will start with the Sky Bet League 2. Doncaster versus Crewe Alexandra. That's an 8 p.m. kickoff in Doncaster, who hold a 2-0 lead from the first leg. That should be enough to see them through. They obviously ended the season in outstanding form, came from nowhere to snatch a playoff spot, and look, a really good bet to be in the playoff final, where they will most likely face Crawley. Second leg of MK Dons versus Crawley Town is tomorrow night. That is a 7:45 kickoff. I was genuinely shocked that Crawley beat MK Dons. Not that they beat them 3-0, just that they beat them. MK Dons have been so much better this season than Crawley. And yet, here we are. With Crawley looking, and Crawley came into the playoffs in really bad form as well, but with Crawley looking a shoe-in to take on Doncaster in what would be the playoff final on the 19th, which is next Sunday. So that's tonight and tomorrow night. Obviously, the League One playoff semi-finals have already taken place, so there's no League One football at all this weekend. But we do have championship action in the Sky Bet Championship on Sunday, 12 p.m., noon, Norwich City versus Leeds United. That is 6th versus 3rd, obviously. Leeds had their chance to get automatic promotion, just couldn't get the job done, fell apart at the wrong time. Tough break for them as well, getting Norwich, because Norwich's home form has been exceptionally good. So on Sunday, I kind of fancy Norwich to get the win there. Now, on the flip side, Norwich's away form is poor, but Leeds has just been such a mixed bag. Leeds should advance, but there's something that just makes me think Norwich might sneak past them. In the other one, it's West Brom versus Southampton. That is 5th versus 4th. I would make Saints favourites to get through, but again, Southampton, they'd lost 3 in a row before the final day of the season. Then so had West Brom. And West Brom looked like they were teetering and might drop out if Hull had gotten the job done on the final day. But I fancy Southampton and I fancy Norwich. I'm sure it'll end up being a Leeds-Southampton final. I'm sure it will. But I just fancy Norwich to upset Leeds. And I don't know who I'd pick in that playoff final. Actually, as things stand, like regardless of what the combination is, whether it's Leeds-Southampton, Leeds-West Brom, Norwich-Southampton, or Norwich-West Brom, I don't know who I'd pick in a final. Because even though Leeds and Southampton have been significantly better than West Brom and Norwich across the course of the season, like Leeds finished with 90 points, Southampton with 87. West Brom had 75 and Norwich had 73. But even saying that, I still don't know that I'd give them a huge advantage in a one-off game at Wembley, because playoff finals are so difficult. There's so much pressure. Let's have a look and see how have Leeds done against West Brom and Norwich this season. So they drew at home with West Brom and they lost away to West Brom. They did win away to Norwich. That was in the early part of the season. They won 3-2. They were 2-0 down in that one before a Shane Duffy own goal. And Shane Duffy, if you haven't seen it, has been arrested for drink driving and causing an accident. The absolute twat. He'd scored the opener, but his own goal gave Leeds a route back in, and Leeds went on to win the game. So Leeds won at Carrow Road and also at Elland Road. So they do have that hanging over Norwich going into these games. And against Southampton, they actually lost both games. They lost 3-1 at St Mary's. They lost 2-1 at home. Southampton versus these other playoff teams. 4-4 with Norwich, second game of the season. I watched that. It was absolutely bonkers, that game was. So that's the 4-4 at St Mary's and a 1-1 at Carrow Road. And then against West Bromwich, they won 2-0 at the Hawthorns back in February, and they won 2-1 at St Mary's in November. So based on that, you would say, right, Leeds won both games, Southampton won both games. They're the two favourites to get through, but just doesn't always work like that. And just for the sake of completion, West Brom against Norwich. A 1-0 win for West Brom at the Hawthorns, a 2-0 win for Norwich at Carrow Road. So they're more evenly matched. It's really hard to pick a winner there as to who will come out. I don't know why I just fancy Norwich to beat Leeds. But again, I'm wrong most of the time, so I'll probably be wrong on this. We have the latest from the Sky Bet fan forum. 5 questions they were asked. Should Liverpool sell Mohamed Salah in the summer? 56% said yes. I'm torn on this one. Logic says yes. He's 32 years of age. He's got 1 year left in his contract. He is showing signs of decline. He's lost that extra half yard of pace that he once had. But he's Mo Salah. He's arguably the best attacking player the club has had. He's a top 2 attacking player in Premier League history. So I don't know. I don't know is the answer. I won't be upset either way. If they decide to move on, they'll get a big fee. The thing that also kind of makes me lean towards selling is he's a £100 million player. You cannot lose him for free. You'll get 100 million this summer from either PSG or Saudi Arabia. You'll get 100 million. and Liverpool have to act self-sustaining. They can't afford to let him walk out the door for nothing. Are West Ham right to part ways with David Moyes? 48% said yes. I would be a strong yes on that one. It is time for all parties. He's done a really good job there, but for all parties, it's time to move on. Should Manchester United move on from Erik ten Hag? Now, my answer is no. Now, there is two reasons for it. Number one is the funny side of it. Being a Liverpool fan, it's enjoyable for me to watch United and their fans suffer. But I also think logically it makes sense as well. United need a top-to-bottom rebuild. And I think it would be easier to start rebuilding from the top down. Get all the pieces in place. Spend the next 12 months assessing the squad that's there. They're not going to win anything next season of any real note. Doesn't matter who they bring in. They're not winning the league. They're not going to be in the Champions League. They might be in the Europa League. They might not. If they're in the Europa Conference League, maybe they could win that. But Erik ten Hag can win that competition. I think Erik ten Hag could potentially win the Europa League. But what you do, because Dan Ashworth has not started working there yet. Jason Wilcox has not started working there yet. They need to rebuild the scouting network. They need to put in place, measures and standards and how the club is going to operate and these pillars of functionality. They don't have any of that right now. So for me, I think they'd be better off to keep the manager and spend most of the year assessing the squad. Figure out who can stay and who can't. Try and rebuild the value of certain players. Anthony, for example. Maybe Sancho with another loan rebuilds his value further. He's done a good job at doing that since joining Dortmund. Spend the year figuring out what manager you want and working towards that goal. While doing that, you can also start then to have an understanding of how the team is going to play and what players would be necessary for that style of play, whatever the shape is, the system. Are they going to be more attack-minded? Are they going to be a counter-attacking team? Will they be a possession and control team? What are they going to be? And by then, or start putting together your transfer targets for next summer based on who the manager is going to be. Because if they change manager this summer, they're going to be buying off the back foot and we're going to see them overpay again. Because that's what United have done time and time again. They've brought in managers, they've splurged money, and all of it has been a disaster. I saw a list today. Let me see if I can pull this up. It was a list of United's most expensive signings. Right, here we go. Top 10 most expensive signings in Manchester United history. Paul Pogba, Anthony, Harry Maguire, Jadon Sancho, Romelu Lukaku, Angel Di Maria, Casemiro, Bruno Fernandes, Mason Mount, and Anthony Martial. 9 of them have been failures. 9. Pogba, enormous flop. Anthony, enormous flop. Maguire, flop. Sancho, enormous flop. Lukaku, enormous flop. Di Maria, enormous flop. Casemiro had a good season last year and rinsed whatever magic was left in him out to win them a cup. But he's been a disaster this season. Now, in part, that's down to the manager and how he's been used, but nevertheless, flop, massive flop. They're going to sell him this summer, most likely, for about 20 million if they can find a buyer. Bruno Fernandes has been a runaway success. There's just no way to argue that. He has been fantastic for them. Barring the time Cristiano was at the club, Bruno has been brilliant. It's only a season for Mount, but thus far, trending very much towards enormous flop. Anthony Martial has been a flop. One success from your top 10 most expensive signings. The volume of money wasted there. Didn't get a penny back for Pogba. We'll be lucky to get 35 million for Anthony. Might get 20 million for Maguire. Be lucky to get 35 million for Sancho. Got a decent enough fee for Lukaku. Decent enough. Got a decent fee for Di Maria. Will lose their arse on Casemiro. Could sell Bruno tomorrow even at 29 and make a profit. Will lose money on Mount if they decide to sell him. And Anthony Martial is about to leave for free. That is stunning incompetence. So for me, I would say United's best bet is to keep Erik ten Hag, start planning for the long term, identify the manager that you want, go and secure him for the following season, and start to buy for that manager. Start to build a team for that manager and his way of playing. Question 4. Who will win the championship playoff this season? So 52% said Leeds, 28 Southampton, 11 Norwich, and 9 West Brom. So people are leaning Leeds quite heavily there. Who is the best player in the Premier League outside of the traditional Big Six? So that just says best player. That doesn't say best player this season. Ollie Watkins has won this at 24%. I disagree. Isak at 14. Very, very good player. Better player than Watkins, not had a better season. Jared Bowen at 13. That's ludicrous. Bruno Guimaraes is the answer, and it's not even close. He got 10% of the vote. Michael Olise got 7. Ebery Chieze got 7. Dominic Solanke 6. Emiliano Martinez 6. Anthony Gordon 5. That's ridiculous. Jared Branthwaite 4. Douglas Luiz 2. He's not even the best midfielder at Villa. João Palhinha 1 and Lucas Paqueta 1. Lucas Paqueta would be in that. He'd be number 2 for me. Guimaraes is 1 though, without doubt. He's 1. Paqueta's 2. Isak 3. Boubacar Kamara 4. Ollie Watkins 5. Yeah, that'll be my top 5. Pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Right, we'll go to another break. And when we come back, it's just going to be me. I'm just going to quickly run through this weekend's games. Time is against me, unfortunately. So back after this. Right, welcome back. So we have 10 Premier League games this weekend, starting with Fulham home to Manchester City in the 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. I think Fulham are on the beach. That's my feel for it. Now, to their credit, if you look at the form table over the last 10 games, they're 11th, so it's not like they've given up completely. They've drawn their last 2 games, but it feels to me like they're on the beach. Home form over the last 6, Fulham are 15th, only 2 wins, 1 draw. Away form over the last 6, City are 2nd, 5 wins and a draw. If we look at injuries, these 2 teams have been among the least injured teams in recent weeks. City have a completely clean bill of health. Fulham, no Sasa Lukic, but Harrison Reed should be okay. I'm going to go a 3-1 win for Manchester City. 3 p.m. kickoffs then. We have 6 of them. We'll start with Bournemouth versus Brentford. That gives us 10th home to 16th. Last 10 games, Bournemouth are 6th. Brentford are 12th. They have ticked up a bit. Only 1 defeat in their last 7 games. Home form, Bournemouth are 5th, 4 wins, 2 draws. Away form, Brentford are 15th, 1 win, 1 draw. Injury-wise, both of these teams have been quite hard hit. But Bournemouth, no Fredericks, no Sinisterra, no Kirkes. He's suspended. Tavernier is back, though. Adams is back, which is a big one. Lloyd Kelly is good to go. And Chris Meffam Uh, we'll wait and see what happens there. There's an illness that's keeping him away from the squad for the last couple of weeks. Not sure what it is. Could be COVID, could be a bunch of different things, but hopefully nothing too serious, and he's back soon. Brentford, no De Silva, no Henry, no Hickey, no me. They're all done for the season. But Asia and Jensen are expected to play. With this game being in Bournemouth, I'll go the Bournemouth win. We'll go 2-0. Up next, we have Everton home to Sheffield United. That is 15th place Everton against relegated Sheffield United. Everton today, by the way, have dropped their appeal against the second points deduction they received, likely because they are safe, but they might not be safe because there might be another points deduction coming if they have to declare administration. And given the noise around 777, it feels like that could be coming. In the last 10 games, Everton are 9th, 4 wins, 2 draws. Sheffield United are bottom, 0 wins, 3 draws. Home form, Everton are 8th, 4 wins, a draw and a defeat. Away form, Sheffield United are bottom, 1 draw and 5 defeats. Injury-wise, Everton, no Patterson, no Ali, and no Michaelenko. They're done for the season. Sheffield United, no Max Lowe, no Reece Norrington-Davies, no Ollie McBurney, no Chris Basham. They're all now ruled out for the season. No John Egan, don't expect to see him again this season. Ahmed Hodgic is suspended. Mason Holgate is owned by Everton, so can't play. Daniel Jevison is back in training, but not yet back available to play. George Baldock is out and Tom Davies is out. So that's a lot. That's a lot. There's no reason to overthink this game. Sheffield United are dreadful. Everton should score a couple of goals here. And because it's Sheffield United and they concede almost 3 goals in every game, but because Everton only scored just over 1 goal in every game, I'm going to split the difference and say that Everton win 2-1. Moving on. We have Newcastle versus Brighton. This should be a good one. Newcastle obviously 6th, Brighton 11th. Brighton, I think, would like to finish top half, but I think more than anything, they just want the season to end. Last 10 games, Toon are 4th, 6 wins and a draw. Brighton are 17th, 2 wins, 3 draws. Home form, Newcastle are 4th as well. Now, St. James's Park hasn't been the fortress that it was last season, but it's still been really good, and of late they've been great there. 4 wins, 2 draws. Brighton away form 12th, 1 win, 2 draws. Toon are the type of team that I think will cause Brighton trouble the way Brighton are playing at the moment, particularly the way they're defending at the moment. I'm going to go 3-1 the Toon. Next up then is West Ham against Luton. West Ham are 9th, Luton obviously in 18th. In the last 10 games, West Ham are 15th. Luton are 19th. Now we know David Moyes is leaving. Will he want to leave in a high? They're playing City in their final game of the season. This is his last chance for a win as West Ham manager. It's his last home game as West Ham manager. He's going to want the win. Home form, West Ham 16th, 1 win, 4 draws. Away form, though, Luton 19th, no wins, 1 draw. Above Sheffield United in that table only on the basis of goal difference. They've scored 1 more and conceded 1 less. Injury-wise, Luton, no Lockyer, no Kabore, no Nakamba, no Brown, no Bell. They're all done for the season. Potts and Anderson still out, but Ogbena is expected to be good to go. For West Ham, no Mavropanos is a major doubt. Agard, I think, is out. Paqueta should be good to go. Calvin Phillips is out. That loan has just been a disaster. I'll go 3-0 to West Ham, but it's a fun derby-ish kind of game for those that consider Luton a London club, even though they're not really. Moving on then, Wolves against Crystal Palace. 12th plays 14th. Palace could jump them this weekend with a win, but it's at Molineux. So Wolves, I think, will be confident enough of getting a result. Last 10 games, Wolves 18th, 2 wins, 2 draws, 6 defeats. Crystal Palace are 7th, 4 wins, 3 draws. Home form, Wolves are 13th, 3 wins, 3 defeats. Away form, Palace are 10th, 1 win, 3 draws. Now, injury-wise, Wolves have good news in that Pedro Neto is close to returning, but might not make this game. Mario Lemina is a doubt. Chuane is out and Dawson is out. They're done for the season. Now, Palace obviously have a lot of injuries themselves. Sam Johnston, Czech Doucouré, both done for the season. Jefferson Lerma, a doubt, but Will Hughes should be okay. Rob Holding, I wouldn't expect to see play again this year, and I don't think we'll see Matthias Franke again either. I'm going to go for a draw on this one. I think this will be a decent enough game. I'll go 2-2. And then finally, we have Tottenham against Burnley. That is 5th against 19th. Defeat here. Anything other than a win confirms Burnley as relegated. Last 10 games, Spurs are 10th, 4 wins, a draw, 5 defeats. 4 defeats in a row. Burnley 13th, 2 wins, 5 draws. Home form, Tottenham are 9th, 4 wins, 2 defeats. Away form, Burnley are also 9th, 1 win, 3 draws, just ahead of Crystal Palace on goal difference. They've scored 4 more, but conceded 3 less. Injury-wise, we'll go with Burnley first. No Ramsey, no Bayer, no Redmond, no Alderweireld. They're all done for the season. Esteve should be okay, and it looks like Luka Kolyasha will be back next weekend for the final day, but not for this one. Esteve is going to be an interesting player this year. I think there's going to be a couple of clubs really interested in him. Spurs are one of them. Spurs need a backup left-footed centre-back. He's proven he's good enough in the Premier League. That wouldn't be a bad move for them. No Adoiji, no Foster, no Sessegnon, no Werner, no Solomon, and no Davies. They're all done for the season, but looks like everybody else is okay. Spurs at home. Burnley aren't great. 3-0 to Spurs. 3-0 to Spurs. The late kickoff then is a 5:30. It is Nottingham Forest at home to Chelsea. A win for Forest will confirm their safety, more or less. I mean, they've got such a big goal difference advantage on Luton anyway that in all likelihood they're going to stay up. They're 3 points clear, but they've got 11 goals better off. They're 5 clear of Burnley, 17 goals better off. They're going to be okay. A win here will confirm it, though, because even if Luton were to then win their last 2 games, they're not making up that goal difference. There's not a chance. They play West Ham away. They play Fulham home. They're both games they could win, but if Forest take 3 points, the goal difference is just going to be too much. Last 10 games, Forest are 16th, 2 wins, 3 draws. And Chelsea, to their credit, are 3rd, 5 wins, 4 draws. Only the 1 defeat. Home form, Forest are 14th, 2 wins, 2 draws. Away form, Chelsea are 7th, 1 win, 4 draws. Injury-wise, Forest are only missing Nico Williams. That's it. Everybody else is fit. It's the fittest they've been in 2 years. Can't say the same for Chelsea. No Fofana, no Lavia, no Enzo, all done for the season. Chilwell, likely done for the season. Chukwuemeka, likely done for the season. Robert Sanchez, likely done for the season. Reece James, I think, is going to be on the bench. I think they'd be mental to play him in either game, given how much football he's missed. I think they'd be mental to play him in either game. Ogachukwu is also ruled out. You just don't know which Chelsea you're going to get, but they've been much better of late. But I do think there's holes in that defence. I think Awoniyi can punish them. I'm going to go for Forest to win 2-1 at home. It's their last home game of the season. I don't think they'll want it going to the final day. Let's just say if Luton did beat West Ham, I don't think, and Forest lost, I don't think they'd want to go to Burnley needing a win, because Luton could very well get something at home to Fulham. I don't think they'd want that. I think they'll want to get this job done. I think they will. I'll go 2-1 to Nottingham Forest in this one. On to Sunday then, just the one game in the Premier League. Obviously, we have the two Championship playoff semi-final games before this, so you do get a nice run of football. But a 4:30 kickoff at Old Trafford, it's, 8th place Manchester United. I was going to say 7th place. 8th place Manchester United playing host to first place Arsenal. Now, Arsenal know that the title is no longer in their hands. It's in City's hands now. They are reliant on City slipping up. But they have to win out just to make sure that all that pressure is on City. If City beat Fulham and Arsenal don't win this game, City wrap the title up away to Spurs, or can afford to lose that Spurs game and go into the final day 1 or 2 points ahead, depending on what Arsenal get from United if they don't win. I would expect Arsenal to win, though, given just how bad United have been. Form table, last 10, Arsenal are second, United are 14th. 2 wins, 4 draws. Home form, United are 10th, 3 wins, 2 draws. Away form, Arsenal are top. Injury-wise, United, no Malacia, no Shaw, no Maguire, no Martinez, no Varane, no Lindelof. Rashford's a major doubt. McTominay should be fine. Fernandes should be fine. Martial is a serious doubt, probably doesn't take part. Kambuala and Mount are both out. So United just don't have a defence to pull out. It's going to be more of the Casemiro at centre-back nonsense. For Arsenal, Jurriën Timber, not ready. I don't think he's going to play this season. I think that's just how it has to be. They do have doubts over Bukayo Saka, who had a scratch on his shin, and Tomiyasu. But let me put your minds at ease. They're both going to be fully fit. It's just Arteta looking for attention and trying to play up the fact that, we have injuries. You haven't had injuries all season, son. Arsenal to go there and win 3-1. Finally then, Monday night, 8 p.m. at Villa Park, Liverpool versus Aston Villa. 4th place Villa, 3rd place Liverpool. Villa coming off that crushing blow of not getting to the Europa Conference League final, which I think they'll be hugely disappointed about. In terms of form, last 10, Liverpool are 5th, 5 wins, 3 draws. Villa are 8th, 4 wins, 3 draws. Home form, Villa surprisingly 11th, 3 wins, 2 draws. Away form, Liverpool are 3rd, 3 wins and 2 draws. Injury-wise, Liverpool, no Matip, no Alcantara, no Jota. Weren't expecting any of them to be fit. For Villa, no Kamara, no Buendia, no Mings, no Ramsey. Unlikely to have Tielemans. Very unlikely to have Zaniolo or Moreno. And Morgan Rogers is out. So Villa are down to the bare bones. I'm going to say Liverpool win. I'm going to go 2-1 to Liverpool. And that is my incorrect Premier League predictions for this week. We'll move then to the BBC and see what they have for us. David Moyes has said it's the right decision for him and West Ham to part ways. Fully agree. Brendan Rodgers has rejected Rangers crying about disrespect. Good. Liverpool have appointed Julian Ward, former sporting director of the club, as the technical director of Fenway Sports Group to oversee their football operations. He will work under Michael Edwards, who is the Sporting CEO. Eddie Howe has said he expects both Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak to stay at the club this summer. I have doubts they'll keep both, if I'm being completely honest. Man City penalty should not have been given. Let's have a quick look. Oh, the penalty that was given, the first one, the eight Nuri on Gvardiol. They say that shouldn't have been given. That's a bit of an odd one. Did they say anything about the? Oh, nonsense! The attacker leans into the goalkeeper. The David Raya flapping. The attacker leans into the goalkeeper. What about every single Arsenal corner? That is utter tripe. Former Manchester United midfielder David Beckham hopes a documentary about the club's treble-winning campaign can inspire the Old Trafford side out of their current struggles. So Amazon are releasing 99. Okay, I haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to watching that one, though. I will just do the gossip then, and we're done. Chelsea will hold an end-of-season review following their final league game of the season against Bournemouth, in which they will decide the future of Maurizio Pochettino. Arsenal are looking at former goalkeeper Wojciech Szczesny, as well as Jason Steele and Ajax's German goalkeeper Dejan Ramage, as they look for a replacement for Aaron Ramsdale, who is expected to leave. Okay. Arsenal are also considering making a move for Jordan Pickford. No, they're not. That is just not true. That's a lie. The Gunners are targeting the signing of a defender, midfielder, and forward as they look to strengthen the squad available. Well, you've only spent 620 million. Like, he's working on a shoestring there, performing miracles every week. Arsenal are prepared to sell Eddie Nketiah. Right. Graham Potter has declined the opportunity to become Ajax head coach. That's twice he's now turned them down. Incoming West Ham boss Julian Lopetegui is considering raiding Sevilla for Morocco striker Youssef En-Nesyri and Argentina defender Marcos Acuna. He will have minimal say in recruitment at West Ham. Tim Steedten will be running the show. Manchester United striker Nikita Paris turned down a lucrative move to North Carolina Courage as she wanted to play in the Women's FA Cup final, which is Saturday. I should have pointed that out earlier. Women's FA Cup final is this Saturday. It's Manchester United versus Tottenham. Bayern Munich have been discussing reappointing Hansi Flick as the new manager. Should never have let him go in the first place. Manchester City and Brazil defender Jan Couto is attracting interest from Bayer Leverkusen, Juventus, and a number of Premier League clubs. Could definitely see the reason for Leverkusen. They're potentially going to lose Jeremy Frimpong this summer, and he would make sense. Eintracht Frankfurt want 50 to 60 million euros for 22-year-old Ecuadorian defender William Pacho. He is outstanding. I'd be very happy if Liverpool paid that money for him. Everton owner Farhad Mashiri is to pull the plug on a takeover deal with 777 Partners by the end of this week after holding crisis talks with the group. Yeah, meaning they're a disaster. Meanwhile, US firm MSP Sports Capital, who showed interest in buying Tottenham last year, are said to be waiting in the wings with a bid for the Toffees if the 777 deal collapses. I'm not sure that's much of a better option. Being completely honest, I'm not sure if it's much of a better option. Like, anytime it's these kind of faceless groups, I just don't see that they're doing things in the best interest of the club. Let's pull up their website quickly. Our portfolio, right. So they have 5 clubs under their watch. Alcorcon in Wait a minute. They can't. This group can't buy them. Because this group owns, maybe they only part own. So Beveren in Belgium. You've got Augsburg. You've got Alcorcon. You've got Estoril Praia. This is the same group. This is David Blitzer's group, isn't it? David Blitzer. David Blitzer owns all of these clubs or owns shares in them. So he'd have to... Yeah, these are all his clubs. He owns a couple of others. Now, maybe he only owns stakes in them and these people only own stakes in them, but these are all his clubs. So I don't really know how that would work. If he owns them outright, he can't, well, unless he sells his share in Crystal Palace, which is what I've been trying to say for 5 minutes now. He owns a large chunk of Crystal Palace. But I don't think he's not part of that group. They must own separately. They must be part owners along with him. It's the only thing that really makes sense to me. Anyway, Newcastle have held advanced talks with Dougie Freedman and Jonas Spurs about their sporting director role. Manchester United are interested in signing Atletico Madrid and Mozambique left-back Reinaldo, but face competition from Aston Villa. He's not very good. Manchester City have agreed a deal to sign 14-year-old American midfielder Cavan Sullivan, who has joined MLS side Philadelphia Union after he turns 18, so 4 years from now. Now, it might be Cavan, because he's American, but it's Cavan, because it's a place in Ireland. It's Cavan. So he's either Cavan Sullivan, which is a totally Irish name, well, an Irish place and an Irish surname, or he's a fraud. That's what I'm going to level at him right now as a 14-year-old. Right, folks, that'll do. I will be back Monday. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye.
Sports Social Podcast Network.